Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Thursday, October 5th, 2023. I'm Donna Will, Professional Development Coordinator for the Maryland Department of Health's Developmental Disability Administration. We welcome you to today's ARPA Grant Vantage webinar. On the panel today, we have Robert White, DDA's Director of Operations, and Tasha Rosick, Agency Grant Specialist. And from Grant Vantage, we have trainers Angelica Covarrubias and Jason Crossland. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few things about the webinar. All participants are in listen-only mode. There are two options to hear the webinar, by computer and by phone. And if you look at the panel interface on your right labeled audio, you can click either computer or phone to switch for the best option. We will be recording the webinar and posting this session on YouTube and the DDA website. Today's PowerPoint has also been uploaded as an attachment and is available for you to download in the webinar panel box along with today's agenda. Questions can be typed in the questioner chat box in the webinar panel, and the team will review and respond as appropriate. And now I'd like to introduce Robert White to begin today's meeting. Good afternoon, Robert.
Good afternoon, Donna, and thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert White, and I am the Operations Director for the DDA. I want to welcome you to today's DDA ARPA Grant Vantage training. I also want to congratulate you on making it through the approval process and receiving a grant to fund your projects that will serve in enhancing home and community-based services in our state. I look forward to receiving updates from Tasha on a frequent basis and hearing about all the great work that you will have accomplished during the post-award phase of your projects. I'd be remiss if I didn't express our collective gratitude to Angelica and the Grant Vantage team who is with us today to conduct your training. Their tireless efforts have resulted in a custom-built Grant Vantage platform, which they will be showing you today. That's tailored to our unique needs. In closing, again, let me extend my heartfelt thanks to each one of you here. And now it's time to delve deeper into today's agenda. Please join me in welcoming our ever-dedicated Agency Grant Specialist, Tasha Rosick. Tasha?
Thanks, Robert. I'd like to echo Robert's sentiments. I can't wait to hear how your projects are progressing. I also want to share my appreciation for your patience as we have transitioned your grant data to the Grant Vantage post-award management system. Your project plans and budgets have all been uploaded into the system. However, there has been a delay in assigning the Grant Vantage licenses to your delegated project managers. I'm currently working with our team to resolve the issue and hope we'll be able to get you all into Grant Vantage very soon. And before we get started, I have a couple of items I'd like you to bear in mind as we proceed through the training today. First, Angelica from Grant Vantage is going to present a lot of information. But remember, this webinar will be recorded and you'll be able to access it on demand along with the online training resources that you've already accessed. So I encourage you not to feel too overwhelmed. Second, the primary goal of the webinar is to help you navigate Grant Vantage. You'll be able to type in questions and Angelica will stop to answer questions periodically throughout the training. However, Angelica does not work for the great state of Maryland and she is not familiar with this grant. So if you have questions specific to the grant or your project that pop into your brain, please feel free to email them to me after the webinar. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Angelica Covarrubias. She is the Senior Software Technical Trainer at Grant Vantage. Angelica and I have been working very closely the last couple of months, and she designed the online training course specifically for us, so her voice should sound very familiar. Angelica, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Tasha, and thank you so much to the entire Maryland DDA team for your support and for having us with you here today. I'm looking forward to training everyone on the call and working with you all. As Tasha mentioned, I will be mindful of the chat box here, the questions that you have as I go through. Please feel free to ask any questions as I'm moving through things. I will be happy to reiterate things, remind things, and work through them. And as Tasha mentioned, this is the second time you're actually being exposed to the software. So still have a lot of patience and time with yourself as you learn and grow with the software. We're going to be here to support Tasha as you all continue on your journey with GrantVantage. So today I'm going to go through the majority of the aspects that you all as grantees will be using in GrantVantage and how it's going to look for you, and specifically provide information detailed on your view of GrantVantage. To begin, I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? We should be seeing,
Yes.
okay, great. So I am going to be demonstrating today out of a GrantVantage sandbox or demo instance in order for you all to be able to see exactly what you would be seeing as a grantee when you log into GrantVantage. As Tasha mentioned, you will get a license and an access to GrantVantage through an email that you'll receive. It'll tell you to click on a link and go through a process to actually log in. Your login HTTP access will be very specific to the state of Maryland DDA team, and you will have that link once the whole licensing process goes through. When you log in, a few things to be mindful of is first, make sure you're using Google Chrome and or Microsoft Edge. It is not as compatible with Internet Explorer and or Safari, and you will have a little bit more errors and maybe missing a few things. So we really recommend using Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. You can also use Firefox if you're using that for your browser needs. When you log into GrantVantage, you actually get the access and everything. You will see a screen similar to what I am showing today. On the left-hand side here is your navigation toolbar. Very straightforward for you. You will have the My Projects link. This is really where you're going to go every time you want to see your grants or your projects that you have been assigned. For the majority of the individuals on the call, you will see just one grant, which is your grant that you have access to right here in the center. If you had more than one grant or you were working with a grant in draft or another status, you'll be able to see it by selecting all projects and being able to see all those grants. So again, for everyone on the call, most likely you will have one grant here with a green little icon on it that denotes it is an active grant. If I single click on my grant, the dashboard for the grant appears. The GrantVantage dashboard here is just a general overview of your project or your grant and where it is at any point in time as you're moving through the grant cycle. I'm going to do two things that y'all are going to see here on the screen. The first is to select these three little icons on the top. It's like a little pancake stack. That collapses the sidebar, gives me a little bit more room here in the center. The second thing I'm going to do is hover here and move this gray bar over. Once again, giving me more room here in the center so I can see my dashboard. The dashboard, the first area here is the budget overview. If you hover over, you'll be able to see the budgeting where it is at any point in time, along with the remaining funding left. Right now, the grant I'm working with has no funding that has moved forward. Therefore, 100% of the funding is still available for usage. As you move it forward, you'll see the remaining, what's been spent to date, and if anything is over allocated. Here in the center, you're going to see your project plan, as we call it in GrantVantage. For a lot of you all, the terminology objectives, performance measures, or goals may be more relatable. That will all be here in the center. You'll be able to see your actual goals that have been already set up based on your agreement with MDH-DDA, the objectives that fall underneath those goals, and performance measures. When we're talking in GrantVantage terms, performance measures is anything that is quantifiable or measurable. So anything, if you're going to meet 100 people, that would be a performance measure. That is a metric you're trying to achieve. You will be able to report in GrantVantage as you progress towards that metric. For the time being, there will be no grant activities for any individual on this call. If in the future you have grant activities that are just tasks associated to your project, this grid here will light up. Then on the bottom, you're just seeing a general overview of your grant or project and the status of it. I'm sliding over this small bar again, and I'm going to double click on my grant name. Double clicking on the grant name opens up your actual grant so you can work through your grant or project. You automatically default to the project detail screen. This allows you to see all the information related to your project, the start and end date, who are the individuals working with that project, and a general overview of your goal and summary for your grant or project. The tab number 2, project location, if it was applicable, would show you all where that project is being funded and moving forward. It is not a feature that is applicable for you all, so you will see this screen that says you do not have permission to view. Project periods and sources, here you'll be able to see the years of your project. If you only have one project, you'll only see 1 year here. If you have more than one, you will see 2, as is denoted in the screen I'm showing today. The below information is related to tracking for MDH-DDA, what program you fall under, and then the amount of funding that you received on their behalf. Okay. Project users, you're just seeing a list of the users that have access to the project or grant. Generally, it's going to be yourself, 1 or 2 of your team members, if applicable, and or the members of the MDH-DDA team. Sub-projects is not applicable for you all, but if you click on it, you will have a screen here that just shows you that sub-projects could sit underneath your grant or project. Okay. The main tab you want to focus on when you're working on in Grant Vantage for everyone on the call is this related tab. When I click on the related tab, I have a drop down that denotes the project management. This is where you will go to do anything and everything in Grant Vantage, particularly when you're looking at your budgeting, your financing, where is my invoice, how do I submit my reporting, how do I see my project plan and the status of my performance measures. This is where you will go. The drop down has the different areas or modules within Grant Vantage where you'll be able to see each of those features. For today, I'm going to start first with financials and budgeting. If I go to tab number 2, budgeting, my budget for this grant or project will load. The budgets have been set up by Tasha and the MDH team internally, so you will log into an already approved budget. Here in the center, you'll see that it says approved. If it's in an initial draft or as your budget progresses forward, you might see that it's in a revision status, okay? For the most part, everyone has an approved budget. We can expand all these little blue arrows and we'll be able to see the different areas of your budget. Whenever you see a blue arrow in Grant Vantage, it means there is more information sitting underneath that you're able to view. A red arrow denotes that you can collapse and therefore closing out and making your screen a sleeker view. The first here you're seeing is your sources. This is how much you were funded by MDH-DDA for your project or grant. This is specifically looking at project year 1. So if you have more than one project year and your project moves forward, you will be able to toggle and see the different years here. Anytime you are toggling here to see a different year or a different budget, you will select and then press this small icon that says refresh. When pressing that small icon that refreshes, you'll see the screen for that next project year. In this case, you're noticing that it's an initial draft. This project year 2 has not been approved. It's just for demo purposes today. So as your project moves forward with MDH-DDA, if you have initial years that show up, this will be a feature that you will be using. For today, I'm going to work on my year 1 approved budget, which is here. My budget is approved. If I select the sources once again, I'll see that I received $50,000 in direct funding. I have no cash match or in-kind for this project. Each of these tabs denotes the budget categories that I received funding for. The top level is personal and fringe, and these are the individuals that are receiving that funding or that I have money allocated to in my budget category. Each one of these, every one of you on the call will have your budget exactly as you denoted and agreed upon with MDH DDA. So it'll look very similar to what I'm showing today. If my font is all in black, as you see here, it means my budget is in budget by what I was originally received for that total budget and for each budget category. As your grant moves forward, if money is over or under allocated, it will be denoted on the screen. Red font denotes that we overfunded, over allocated. Green font denotes that we have money left to spend. Okay. This is a general overview of your budgeting screen. If you ever need support while you're in this budgeting screen and you have a question or you're stuck, you're not sure where to go, you can go to this small gear icon here on the right-hand side, and you will have the option to either request a budget change, view your change request, or send a message. This is how you will send your messages to your MDH DDA team to let them know that you have a question. You will select new message. The communication grid will appear. Here at the top, you'll have the from. It'll automatically be from yourself. You're the person that is logged into Grant Vantage. You can denote who you're going to send it to. You can send it to more than one person. So if you have several individuals that you need to send it to, you can send it to more than one. And you'll be able to select what your question or communication is about. There are several areas that are pre-populated for you, so you can have a general consensus of where you're sending. Your subject line is open for you to add in whatever information you want to add in to denote what your message is about. And then you have a message box where you can type in the details. You will select from one of these inquiries. Is it an inquiry response? Is it for approval or review? Is it accept, decline, or an FYI? And then it automatically will default that it's coming from your project. That way your grants manager will know this is the project you're discussing. You have the option to attach also, if need be, any additional supplemental support for your message. And then we press send. If you notice here, these pop-up boxes will appear whenever something is missing or required in Grant Manage. It's to assist you to assure that everything is complete before sending. So I need to send for approval or review, and then I press send here on the right-hand side. I'm going to pause a moment and see if there's any questions. One moment. Okay. Francine asks, or Jill Berry asks, what is the email for Grant Vantage support? We're going to talk a little bit about that as we go through. This is going to be one of the areas where you're going to get support, this communication grid that I'm showing. The others will most likely go through Tasha, but it'll be a conversation that we'll have with Tasha to define the process that you all will follow for Grant Vantage support if you run into any concerns as you're moving through the system. The communication that I sent, if we want to know where is that communication, where did it go, where can I track it, we'll go here to the Related tab. On the Related tab, you'll see scroll down, we have communication. Here on the communication, when we open up this module, we are able to see a list of the communication that we have sent. So here's my communication that I just sent. And once I receive a response from it, I will see it coming down just like you do in an email box. You'll be able to see the responses, who responded, and you can go back and forth on one message thread if need be. You may also send a communication through this grid here by selecting new message. Very similar, the screen pops up. You have the option to send a message from here. So if you've just logged into GrantVantage and you need to send a communication, you can always go to the related tab and select communication. I'm going to return to my related tab to budgeting. So here in budgeting, what you're seeing is really your initial budget, what you receive for your funding, and you're able to have a glimpse and a view of what was allocated for each of your budget categories. As you're moving through, you would like to see how you received your funding. So we're going to go to related, and we're going to go to drawdowns and disbursements, which is sitting right underneath budgeting. For everyone on the call today, as per my understanding, we've all received, whether it be part of or an initial payment of our funding. So those have been posted for you again by the MDH-GDA team so you can see them in your GrantVantage once you have your login. When you're looking at if a payment has been paid out, received, or where is my payment at, this might be a common question we have, we're going to come here to drawdowns and disbursements. Our drawdowns and reimbursement screen loads. We'll see here once again the blue arrow. We'll click on it to open up. This project has 2 years. We'll single click on the first year, and we'll see here that I have received a payment already. We're able to denote that I requested this payment. This is the date I requested it. This is the date it was approved, and this is the date it was paid, and it was paid in full. If I want to see a complete detail of that, I always have a PDF here to look at. And I'm able to see here, I requested $25,000 and $25,000 was paid out to me. If there's ever a situation where a payment was denied, it will be in red. Also partial payments, if an individual requested $40,000, but really for that first quarter, they were only allocated $25,000, you will see here, this will say partial payment paid. If you're ever needing to request a payment or your supplement of money for that quarter, you can request it by selecting the request drawdown reimbursement here. You'll place the date you're requesting it, the period start and end date, whether it be of your project or your quarter, based on your agreement with MDH-GDA. You'll put a memo, and then you'll change this to requested and the amount you're requesting. All of these values are based on your agreement that you have with MDH-GDA. How much did you all agree upon when you signed your original agreement of funding to be received? Okay. So I'm going to say I'm requesting $15,000 for this demo because this is my second quarter payment, and I'm going to press save and close. You'll note here, I now have my request and it's in requested status. Okay. To confirm, I'm going to generate the request. And now it's gone into a full requested status, and you'll notice I have an Excel here as a proof of submission. If you ever come into this screen and you don't see something that you feel was paid, should be paid, or has been requested, you can once again come to this little gear icon, and you'll see you have the new message and view communication to be able to send a message to denote, ask the question as to where is your payment, what other steps you need to follow to receive that payment. So as of right now, you also notice my numerical values have changed. I now have 40,000 that has been requested and 25,000 has been paid. The next step that goes to budgeting is once you've received your money, you're working with your money, and now you need to submit to MDH-GDA, how did I spend that money? Where are my transactions? What did I accomplish? Okay. So we're going to go here to the related tab, and we're going to go to reports. Here on the reporting screen, this screen automatically defaults to your transaction report. It also automatically defaults to the current year of the project period. Okay, so we're looking here at 7/1 to 6/30/2024. And we're noting that this is our transaction report. This is where we're going to submit our transactions. Once again, we have our blue arrows where we can expand all. You'll note here, we can also see that we have our drawdown payment here that has been paid. So another way for you to come and view if your payments have been paid is coming here to the reporting screen and seeing here at the top. There's 25,000 that has been paid. It's in green because it has not been used yet. It is unallocated, so we have that money here to use for our grantor project. And then down at the bottom, we have our budget categories. Each of these budget categories becomes a hyperlink when we hover over it. And you'll notice I have a little drop down that appears, it says new transaction. I'm going to click on any of the hyperlinks. Generally, we choose a category that we're going to actually allocate expenses to, but you have the option to choose any one. Okay. The posted date, you choose the date today. Transaction date is when you want the transactions to show on your transaction report. Generally, within what quarter did that transaction happen? Okay. Then here under amount, you want to put the total amount for all of your transactions that you're requesting. So generally when we request or we present our reporting, we have about 7 or 8 transactions. Some of them might have went to personnel, a few others might have went to consultants, maybe a few others went to equipment. If all of it went to personnel, then you only have 1 transaction, but for the most part, we have more than 1 transaction. So let's say that my invoice that I'm reporting is for the full 25,000 that I received. So I'm going to put 25,000 here. I am denoting to MDHDDA, this is how I spent this $25,000. Here at the bottom, we start to allocate our transactions. This is the project. It's automatically going to default the project you're in. The transaction type direct. If you were ever to use cash match, you would switch this to cash match. And then the budget category. It defaulted to the budget category that I selected from the original grid. But you have the option to change it here if that was not accurate at that point in time. For this, I'm going to say, yes, I'm spent $10,000 this quarter on my quality assurance specialist. And this is what I'm denoting here, and this is my 10,000 total here. Okay. That has deducted the 10,000 from my 25,000, so you'll note here I have 15,000. This transaction number here must equal to 0 before you can save this invoice or this transaction report for submission. The way to equal that to 0 is to add another allocation. So I'm going to select this plus add allocation. Same thing, I select where did this money go, so I'm going to say it's going to fringe this time, and we spent 2,500 on fringe. And I typed over type, so let's change that, 2,500. Okay, so now I have 12,500 total. I still need to allocate some more money. You'll notice also if I hover over, if I accidentally made a mistake, I can click this little trash can and delete that transaction and add in a new allocation. Okay. So I'm going to add another allocation, and this time I'm going to say it went to technical IT support, and we're going to say this is 10,000. So I still have 2,500 to allocate, so I'm adding another allocation, and this is going to consultants and subcontracts. So now you'll note at the bottom, I have a total transaction balance of 0. All of these values that I put here have totaled to my 25,000. That is what this is telling me. And you'll also note that it's telling you here how much you spent. So if you had originally allocated 35,000 for your quality assurance specialist, this quarter you already spent 10,000. So you have 25,000 remaining in that budget category. If you were to go over, you would have a negative value in your transaction report. For some of these today, for demonstration purposes, you'll notice I do have some negative values here, and we'll see how that looks on your transaction report as you're moving forward. I'm going to place here a invoice memo. So I did transactions Q1. Also, if you're required to submit receipts, documentation of how this money was spent, show us the receipts. Here at the top, you'll see this tab number 3 has an attachment. So you can add any attachments related to your transactions here. You can add multiple attachments, anything and everything that is related to this invoice that you're submitting to denote your expenses. Okay. If everything is in agreement and you have your 0 here, we'll just press save and close here. Depending on how many transactions you posted, it will take a little bit to save them in the back end. And then in order for this grid to refresh and for you to see your transactions, we're going to press this refresh icon. And you'll notice now I have 5 total transactions. Here I can see clearly 2 for here and 2 for here. I'm going to open up these 2 and you can see here I have for quality assurance specialist my 25,000 here, my 10,000, I have 25,000 remaining from my total original of 35,000. You'll be able to select and review each of these, assure that they are correct. You'll note here at the bottom, as I mentioned, we over allocated for here in this area. So you'll notice it's in red, which means we originally didn't have that much money allocated there. We went over 10,500 on our consultants and subcontractors. When you submit this report to MDH-DDA for review, they will be able to see that you went over and you all can decide. It's really between your agreements as MDH-DDA if it's allowable or not allowable, and that will be a conversation that will move forward from here. Okay, but you will be able to see clearly here on this screen where the numerical values are. Once you've posted your transactions and you're ready to submit them for review to MDH, you're going to have 2 options. You can export to Excel, which is this icon here in the center, or you can export to PDF. For today, I'm going to export to PDF, so I'm going to select here. And it saved it on the back end as a PDF on my computer. We're going to hold it there for a moment because I'm going to show where we're going to submit that. One thing to remind here, assure that when you're submitting your transaction report that you've selected the report start and end dates that are accurate for that report start and end date. So if you're submitting quarterly, changing these dates here on report start and report end, and then refreshing will show the transactions only for that quarter. If you're submitting yearly, then you would change this to that year that you're submitting for and then refresh and see that transactions for that quarter or that year. I'm going to pause here for a moment, just make sure there's not any questions. How likely is it to get a budget modification approved? That will most likely be a question for Tasha. I can show how to get a budget change request done in the system, how that process would go, but definitely the grant process and how likely it will get approved is between the grantee and MDH-DDA.
Angelica, I've gone through and answered all of those. I don't think there are any active questions right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm returning here to our transaction screen. And when we're ready to submit our transaction report to MDH-DDA, we're going to download it as I just did. In this case, I did a PDF here. Of course, you have the export of an Excel if you would prefer. Then I'm going to go to my Related tab, and I'm going to scroll down to Report Schedule. Here in Report Schedule, the MDH-DDA team has set up for you 2 reporting types. First is your narrative report, which I'll talk about that when we talk about project plan and performance measures. And the second is your expenditure report. Here we're denoting this is a quarterly report frequency for this report. And you'll see here when I clicked on this blue arrow, the start and end dates for each of those periods. So these would be your period start and end dates for your transaction report. So when you pull that report that we just saw earlier, these are the dates you're going to put to denote this is the dates of the transactions, okay? Then you'll notice here you have one for each of the quarters for this project or grant. All of them are currently in pending. Once they have been submitted, this will be denoted as submitted, and once they have been reviewed and approved, this will be denoted as reviewed and approved. Once you're ready to come and submit, let's say we're ready to submit our 7/1/2023 to 9/30/2023 report. We have it complete. We've posted all our transactions. We're good to go. I'm hovering over that line item and selecting the small pencil icon. The report start and end date automatically fills in for us. We'll put in our name. We are the person that we are submitting this report, and the date we submitted that report. Everything else auto-populates by Grant Vantage. So the due date, the start and end dates, the lag, and what grant we are reporting on. Okay. Here, adding notes and attachments is where you're going to attach your report, your actual report. So we're going to attach that report that we filled out. So I'm going to say my Q1 expenditure report. I just pulled it from the back end as I had saved there. This is my MDH-DDA Strengthen and Assure Quality Transaction Report. So I've attached it. We'll see here, this is my attachment. If I wanted to add any additional notes, I can here. If not, I'll just press save. If we accidentally attach the wrong document, we have the option here to still delete it and reattach the correct document. We see a review of our document. We go back to our details, and we press here, save and close. Once again, you'll note you have that small little gear icon. If you need to send a message, you have that option to send a message here also. Now for my expenditure report, I have completed the process. As I can see here, it's been filed by, and this is the date it was filed on. Your DDA MDH-DDA team member will automatically get a no reply email that you submitted this report, but you also have the option here, you have the gear icon once again to send a message if you would like. Once they have approved your report and said, yes, we've reviewed it, it's good to go, you will see their name and the date they approved it on here, and this status will change to approved. Okay. You have one for each quarter, so each quarter you will have the opportunity to come and submit your report here and know when it's due. Once you're actually set up in the system, you will have the option to set up your MDH-DDA team has set up for you. You will get no reply emails as reminders when these reports are due. Those no reply emails will go to your email box that you currently have. You will not be able to reply to that email. It will just be a reminder that something is coming up due. Okay. And you will have to log into Grant Vantage to review and submit that reporting. So these are your steps for the financials and how you're going to review your budgeting, how you're going to post your transactions, and how you will submit your expenditure reports. The part of the payments of your funding will be posted by the MDH-DDA team. You will just be able to view that here in Grant Vantage. I'm going to briefly demo. The last thing on budgeting is a budget change request. If you are needing a budget change request in Grant Vantage for your budget and you want to denote to your MDH-DDA team that you're requesting a budget change, you will come here to the budgeting screen. Here, the gear icon once again will have the request budget change option. You'll select request the budget change. Depending on what it is you would like to change, if you're moving money from one category to the other, you will denote, I needed more money for one category and not the other, so this is why I'm asking for a change request. You will define which category you're moving money from and how much you're moving from each category. So let's say in personal fringe, I wanted to move 2,000, and then here, yeah. I changed this. This is my original amount that I had there, 35,000. I'm going to switch this to 32,000 because I'm moving some money over. And this one originally had 0 in it, and I'm going to move 3,000. That's what I'm defining to my funder. Same thing as we saw in our transaction report. This has to equal to 0 at the end. Here we denote how much we changed. So we moved some money from this one to this category, which changes to date was 6%, and we have 4% changes remaining. You will always be required to put in a justification when you're requesting a budget change request. If you have documentation to support your change request, you can also submit it and attach it here. It will not allow you to send this without a justification. And you'll just select request change. Oops, I forgot to put the title in. Your change will go through an approval process by the MDH-DDA team. They'll review it. If you have any questions about it, same thing, you can come here, select new message and send a message. The message going back and forth between that approval process will happen between you and the MDH-DDA team. And then once your budget change request has been approved, it will be denoted here on this grid along with a revised version of your budget for you to view. Okay. That's our change request. Let me make sure there's not any questions before I go into performance.
No questions right now.
Okay. Oh, someone's saying, so Azeb didn't understand how the budget report is submitted. Okay, so let me show that once again, just so that we know. So the first step you're going to do is you're going to go to related. You're going to go to reports. For budgeting and expenditures, it automatically defaults to your transaction report. That's the first report you're seeing here. So the first step was to post my transactions. The way to post them was to hover over a hyperlink to define your first transaction. When you hover over it, you get your transaction form. Here you're going to add the total amount that you're requesting along with the posted date and the transaction date. You're going to add each allocation. If you have more than one, you'll just add allocations. So each one, totaling the total amount that you have requested up here. You're going to save this with the attachments and receipts by selecting here attachments and adding in your attachments, your receipts, or any documentation that is associated to the transactions for that quarter or period. You can add more than one transaction there. More than one attachment. Once you've completed, you're going to press save and close. As we demoed earlier, you'll have all your transactions here denoted that you posted them. This is your transaction or expenditure report. From here, you're going to save this as a PDF based on the quarter that you're reporting on. So I'm going to say I'm reporting on 7/1/2023 to 9/30/2023. I change this date, so I'm going to press refresh so that my transaction report denotes the transactions for that quarter. Once it's saved, you'll note here the transactions that I posted were for a different quarter, so I have all zeros right now. But that's okay because we're doing a demonstration of how we would report for the quarter. If I had no transactions for quarter one, I'm going to just save this, export it as a PDF. I've exported it as a PDF. It's saved on my desktop. Now I'm going to go to Related, Report Schedule. Select Expenditure Report. Hover over the line item you're requesting to submit your report for. A small pencil appears. When that pencil appears, we're going to type in our name here because we're the person submitting that report. The date you submitted that report. And then here you're going to attach that transaction report. Because I already attached this, I'm not going to reattach it. I'm just going through the demonstration of how this would look. Okay. In your case, you would press save and then save and close. And you'll have this line item that appears that shows you successfully filed your report, and this is the date you filed it on. If you have any questions as you're doing that process, you have this gear icon here where you can send a message regarding. Just for future knowledge, the process for submitting a project narrative report is going to be similar, and I'm going to start demonstrating that now. We're looking at, yes.
Just a quick question. So the attachment does need to be in a particular format. It has to be a PDF?
It does not. It can be an Excel, a Word document, PDF. Almost anything is valid, even JPEGs.
Okay.
On how they're submitting their receipts. Yeah. When we're looking at our project narrative, we're going to go here to Related. And here in Grant Vantage, we call it the project plan. So it's the very first tab that you see here at the top, project plan. Select that. We've come into our project plan module. So you'll see here, again, in Grant Vantage, the general term is an objective, which means an overarching title or milestone that we want to reach that usually has several quantitative or qualitative measures underneath it that we're reporting on. So the first thing we're going to see is the general project impact, goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, and then your quarterly report narrative questions. Okay. You'll also note when you log into the screen that everything is going to have the manager, the start and end date, and will most likely be already approved by your MDH DDA team. When I single click on any of these items, I receive underneath the performance measures and or activities associated to the item. Same as before, this little blue arrow denotes there's more information underneath for me to view. So I click this open and I see my performance measures that are associated to my goal 1. When I'm wanting to update my performance measures and denote to my funder, my project is moving forward, these are the things I've completed, this is what I want to show has been done for this quarter. We're going to open up whichever goal you have progressed forward with. And if it's all of your goals, we'll work with each one individually on its own. So I'm going to start with goal 1 here, and I'm going to say I have moved forward my project. I've started to see individuals develop my strategy for 43 employees. I've developed a strategy, and I'm seeing 10 individuals have completed the process. So I'm going to double click. My performance measure opens up. You'll note I cannot change anything except for when I assign my results. Everything here is just for me to know this is what my description measure was. This is what my goal is. I'm planning to see 43. These are the information related to this. Here at the top, you'll have the tabs, assignees, tags, results, attachment, and notes. For MDH DDA, the one we're looking for is results. We're going to add our results in. And I'm going to say for quarter 1, entered by myself, it's always going to have your name there. I saw 10 employees that I've completed the process through, and I can report those are completed and done with. Okay. These others are not applicable. You all can just leave them blank. Anything with a red asterisk in GrantVantage is required. So what was required for me to fill in was a start and end date. My name is automatically filled in by GrantVantage, and then the result. I'm going to press this save icon here. The reason why we press it there is if we wanted to add in additional results, we have that option to continue to add more results. Every quarter that you come in and update, you would come in and add in those results. On your main screen, it will roll up into that total amount. If you ever have any attachments that you need to attach to performance measures that your funder would like to see, you have that attachment option here also. When I go to measure details here, now you will see on my main screen, I have 43 planned and I have actually completed 10. For each of the measures, so I'm going to press save and close here. For each of the measures for the quarter that you want to update, you'll come in and complete that process. So if you have 3 or 4 to update, you'll come in, you'll see here now, I've updated that one. This status has been moved to in progress. So 43 to 10. If I had to go to goal 2, let's just say that's the only one I completed for goal 1, and goal 2, I actually have completed this milestone. Very similar, but since it's a milestone that I needed to complete, all I had to do was create the training materials. I am going to just go in here and I'm going to say either it's in progress or it's achieved, whichever status you need to update it. I'm going to denote that I've achieved this. And then if my funder requires it, I add an attachment defining how I achieved it. If I need to show any details as to the training materials that I created, you have that option to upload them here. You also always have the option of the note section. If you just want to add a note for your funder, maybe you only completed 1 this quarter, but you have a reason to why that happened, what's going on, or maybe you've gone over and you've completed 47 in quarter 1 and you want to define to your funder, hey, I've overachieved this goal because of XYZ, you have that option here. Okay. Press save and close. And you'll note now this milestone has been achieved and the status is moved to achieved. Okay. I'm going to update a few more because I want us to see this on our reporting. So this is a narrative performance measure. If you have these in your project plans, you'll describe the accomplishment of that performance measure and give a detailed description of that performance measure here. So in this case, if I'm saying it's in progress and I have started the process pending a final approval. Okay. Of course, you can add in more narrative as much as you need. You once again have the option for an attachment or any notes you want to add. So I'm going to press here, save and close. I have it marked, this one is achieved, it's still in progress. I have a few things pending, but I want to note to my funder I'm moving forward. Okay. And finally, each quarter, MDH-DDA requires a quarterly report narrative of several questions. Have you experienced any obstacles to achieve your goals this quarter? And then if yes, explain and describe any significant accomplishments that occurred in a quarter, okay? So it's set up as a narrative. You'll come here to performance measures. You'll select here. For you all, it will be set up as 2 separate questions, and you'll have the option to define here that if you don't have any obstacles for this quarter, great quarter, no obstacles. And we're going to put here in progress. And this is my quarter 1 update. So I'm going to type here Q1. And I'm going to save. Once again, I have the option to attach or add a note here if I want to add any notes or attachments. This is my Q1 update. Okay, for this one, I'm going to go through a Q2 example. The reason why for this specific question where we're talking about the quarterly report of narrative questions, you're going to use the same narrative box to respond every quarter. So we're going to come here, we've come to quarter 2. I see my quarter 1 response. Now I'm going to go to quarter 2 and I'm going to say no obstacles this quarter either. Or if I have a paragraph of things that I need assistance with, you can add that in there. So that will be my Q2. I'm going to leave the measure status in progress. We won't define it as achieved until the end of the final 4th quarter, or however many, the 4th quarter, your final quarter, then you can define it as achieved. For right now, we're going to stay in progress and we're going to save and close. So just for that one question, I've gone through to quarter 2 because I want to demonstrate how it's going to look when you run your reporting. Okay. So we've updated several of our performance measures where feel like we've gotten everything we need to our funder. We've attached anything we need to attach. And now we're ready to submit our report, our quarterly report to our funder in reference to our project plan. The way we submit our quarterly report is we did our updates here. Now we're going to go to related and we're going to go to reports. This is the same area we went to for the transaction report. And yes, it automatically will default to transaction report. In this case, we'll need to change the type of report. We're going to go to the small drop down and we're going to select either project overview report or project performance report. I'm going to select project overview report. This is the period I am denoting. Note with project performance measures, the data is live on the back end. So when we save this report, it's actually showing what I have in the system at this point in time. Okay. I'm going to refresh in order to see that project overview report because right now I'm still seeing my transaction report. This is my project overview detail report. Easily exportable once again to Excel or PDF. I generally choose PDF. It just condenses it, has a very clean look, easy to import it back so that your funder can review it for you. Okay. Here at the top, when we're looking at the project overview detail report, we're going to see an overview of our project as we saw our grant details. And then we have an overview of the funding. So this is what's been spent till this point in time, and then this is what's remaining. Okay. So it's showing we've spent 25,000, we have 50% remaining in this case. And then if we scroll down, we're going to see each of our objectives and the status. So all of these I did not update, but you'll note here, this one I updated, so I have 10 out of the 43. We're moving towards that completion. As I go down, this one I have it completely achieved, which is the one we denoted that we achieved it completely. And then if I continue down on this one, I have my narrative that I added in here, just noting I started the process, but I'm pending a final approval. So I scroll through, we'll be able to see that. And then here, the final one, which is the quarterly report narrative questions. You'll see here for Q1, the great quarter, no obstacles, Q2, no obstacles, good to go. As you go through, you'll have a Q3 and a Q4 for the specific questions down here. Okay. And as you move forward with your project, of course, quarter 2, quarter 3, more of these measures will be moving forward and that data will be viewable on this report. So if I'm happy with my report, I'm going to export it to a PDF because I want to have an artifact of that so that I can submit it on my reporting screen and my funder can see each quarter as I've completed it. So for a project plans to submit your reporting, your first thing you're going to do is go into the screen and update all of your performance measures, your objectives. Once you've updated everything and put it into the current status, you're going to go to reporting and you're going to select the project overview report. The project overview report, you're going to see a screen similar to this one. I would generally recommend to scroll through it, verify you've updated everything you would like to update. If anything was missed, you can always go back to your related tab, project plan, update it, and then come back, refresh the screen, and you'll see those changes. Then we export this to PDF. We're going to go to the related tab, report schedule. The same as we did with our financial expenditure report. Here we are. We have our tab 2 for narrative report. We're going to select that small blue arrow. We see each of the line items where our report is due. Select the small pencil icon. The same thing, we put our name in here, the date we filed it on, and we're going to add our project update. So I'm going to say this is my performance report for 1, and I'm going to choose the file. And I'm choosing my overview report that I upload. So here's my attachment here, and then save. Once again, I have the option to review my attachment, verify it's the correct one. You can download it here and verify it if you want. Also, you can edit it or delete it. If we are content, we're going to just press save and close. And here, once again, we have our report has been filed and submitted. That is the review of the project plans and how you will update them and how you'll be able to review them. I'm going to go one last time to our home screen so you can see on our home dashboard. If I single click on my grant name, I'm going to scroll here. You're going to be able to see here on my home screen, my performance data has been updated also. So it's another way, if you want to have a quick way to update your performance measures and you're here and you're like, oh, I need to update this one, you can single click on it. And here you can also update. So you can open each performance measure and update them. If you would want to do it from the screen, it's a quick access to the performance data also. As you're working through GrantVantage, you're going to note, and you may have noted in the training, there's different ways to do different things. You can do your transactions to the budgeting screen. We generally find the way I demoed today was the most, the easiest for most individuals. I think, Tasha, let me check the questions one more time, but that is everything I had for today. Unless you wanted me to cover anything else again for anyone or
We do have one question here. It says, will you be emailing out this presentation for us to review when we are ready to complete our quarterly report? And so I'll answer that one. Yes, we will email the presentation. We'll send you the link to the YouTube video. And I also would note that if you are someone who likes to see a step-by-step written out, GrantVantage has provided a really great resource in the online training that you'll have access to as well.
Okay. And I see Jill has quite a bit of questions. So Jill, you had a good question. We often get asked, why are we uploading this to our desktop and then uploading it again? Specifically with the performance measures. GrantVantage runs live, so the performance measures are sitting as they are at this point in time. You want to have an artifact of that quarter completion. So the artifact is the PDF or Excel, which is saying this is where I was at this point in time from this date to this date. All of the data is in GrantVantage, but it is running live based on what quarter you're in. So if you're in quarter 4, you're seeing the data all the way through to quarter 4. So the exporting of the data is to have those artifacts to show each quarter. And then someone else asked this one. And yes,
I've gone through and answered those.
Okay, okay, great. Okay. Unless you have anything else for me, Tasha, I mean, as soon as everyone has their login, I'm more than happy to be here to support you as you all go through that process.
Thank you, Angelica, and the whole entire GrantVantage team for all your efforts in designing and implementing the platform and learning management system for us.
Oh no, more than happy to be here for y'all. Grateful.
And Donna, can we go to the next slide? All right, just checking. I don't see any other questions. So just to conclude our webinar, I have a couple of quick reminders for you all. First, quarterly reports are due October 31st, 2023. Those reports, as you've seen, must be submitted in GrantVantage. But since your GrantVantage licenses haven't been assigned yet, I'm working with our technology team to get that done. I anticipate that we will extend the deadline, so no worries with that. More to come on that soon. Those reports do include, as Angelica demonstrated, a narrative report, which really just involves updating your progress on your project plan and answering 2 brief questions. So I anticipate first quarter, you might not necessarily have a lot to report out, and that is okay. For your second report, that's the expenditure report, where you document your expenses incurred. You'll attach all those invoices, executed agreement, bills of sale, and receipts for line items over 5,000. So you don't need to be attaching all of your receipts. However, you are expected to retain that information should we request an audit. Also, just please ensure that you calculate that $5,000 by the line item, not by the unit cost of the items. Next slide, please. And also, if you have any subcontracts with a company or a consultant of above $5,000, it does require DDA review and approval prior to execution or signing it. So please make sure that you get those to me. Subcontracts, they have to include a scope of work, an itemized budget, and subcontractor qualifications. And you can just send those directly to the mdh.dda grants inbox, which I always communicate to you in. Let's see, so looking at the questions. So there's a question, what do we do about expenses under 5,000? Where do we submit them? You will document that information in the transaction report. You just don't have to submit a receipt for those. Okay, so it looks like we have made it through all of the questions. We appreciate everyone's time today. I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon, and let's go O's.